It was Sunday morning, and the church was filled with people. Children's voices, quiet conversations, and the soft music after the prayer filled the hall. But Anna sat completely silent in her seat. Her eyes were fixed on the cross in front of her, but there was no peace in her heart. For 3 years, Anna had been coming to this church. Every time life became difficult, she came here, knelt down, and asked God for help. She had prayed for her marriage. She had prayed for her husband's heart to change. She had prayed through countless nights for her mother's health. And when her mother passed away, Anna tried to hold on to God even more tightly. But now she was tired. The service ended, and people began talking to one another. Anna slowly stood up and walked toward the church doors. Before leaving, she turned around one last time and looked at the cross. Tears filled her eyes. Then she walked out. That day, Anna felt as if she was leaving behind not only the church, but her faith as well. Outside the church, an elderly woman named Ruth approached her. Ruth was one of the few people who could understand Anna's pain without asking too many questions. "Anna, you're leaving so early. Are you coming to the prayer meeting tonight?" Anna stopped. She tried to wipe away her tears, but her voice trembled. "No, Ruth, I'm not coming to the prayer meeting. Is everything all right?" Anna remained silent for a few seconds. Then she whispered, "No, nothing is all right." Ruth gently held her hand. Anna's tears began to fall. "I've been praying for 3 years. I prayed for my marriage, but God didn't save it. I prayed for my mother, but she died. I prayed for a job, and I lost that too." Her voice broke. "Everyone tells me to have faith, but Ruth, I'm tired. Every Sunday I come here and pretend that everything is okay, but inside, I'm completely broken." Ruth tried to say something, but Anna shook her head. "I can't do this anymore." Then she walked away. Ruth stood there, watching her disappear down the street. When Anna reached home, she threw her handbag onto the sofa and stood silently for a moment. Everything in the house reminded her of her old life. There was the chair at the dining table where her mother used to sit and drink tea. There was the cup her mother had once given her. In one corner of the bedroom were a few things that belonged to her husband. Anna closed her eyes. "Why, God?" She whispered the words through tears. Then her eyes fell on the Bible lying on the table. She stared at it for several seconds. Her fingers slowly touched its cover. There had been a time when the pages of that Bible had given her hope, but now the Bible felt like another unanswered question. Anna picked it up. She found a box and placed the Bible inside. Then she closed the box. She pushed it underneath her bed. "That's enough!" she whispered. That night, Anna did not pray. For the first time in 3 years, she went to sleep without saying a single word to God. Over the next few weeks, Anna's life changed completely. She stopped going to church. She stopped praying. Her Bible remained hidden beneath the bed. Sunday, which had once been a day of hope for her, became just another ordinary day. She found a small job at a grocery store. Every morning, she woke up early, ate a simple breakfast, and went to work. She smiled at customers, arranged shelves, and did everything she was supposed to do. People thought Anna was fine. But when she returned home, the smile disappeared. She would heat up dinner and sit alone at the table. Sometimes she would open her phone and look at her mother's number. The number was still saved. Anna knew the call would never be answered. Still, her finger would hover over the call button. "Mom!" She would whisper those words and then put the phone away. At night, she would lie in bed staring at the ceiling. There was an emptiness inside her that nothing could fill. She had decided to walk away from God. But she did not realize that even when the heart walks away, it can still long for the one it left behind. One evening, while Anna was walking home from the grocery store, dark clouds covered the sky. Within minutes, heavy rain began to fall. Anna pulled her shawl over her head and hurried down the street. Then she noticed a little girl sitting alone at a bus stop. The child was completely soaked. She was holding a broken umbrella, and tears were running down her face. Anna stopped. "Sweetheart, what are you doing here alone?" The little girl looked at her nervously. "My mother is coming to get me." "Where is she?" "I don't know." Anna looked around. Cars were passing on the road, but there was no one near the child. "How long have you been waiting?" The little girl shrugged. "I don't know." Something moved inside Anna's heart. She took off her coat and wrapped it around the girl's shoulders. "Don't be afraid. I'll stay with you." The girl gave her a small smile, and Anna didn't know why, but in that tiny smile, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. It was almost as if God was quietly reminding her, "You are not alone." Anna and the little girl waited at the bus stop. The rain became heavier. Anna was cold too, but she kept the girl close to her. "What's your name?" Anna asked. "Emma." "That's a beautiful name. Thank you." After a while, Emma looked at Anna. "Will you help me find my mommy?" Anna took her hand. "As long as she hasn't arrived, I'll stay with you." Almost an hour later, a woman came running across the street. "Emma!" The little girl jumped up and ran toward her mother. "Mommy!" Her mother pulled her tightly into her arms. Then she came to Anna. "Thank you," she said through tears. "I thought I had lost my daughter." Anna smiled gently. "She's safe. That's all that matters." As the mother and daughter walked away, Anna stood there watching them. A strange peace filled her heart. That night, while walking home, Anna thought for the first time, "Maybe God is still with me." But she immediately pushed the thought away. "No, I don't want to be hurt again." A few days later, Anna found a letter in her mailbox. It was from Ruth. She opened it. Inside were only a few lines. "Anna, I don't know what you feel about God right now. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're disappointed. Maybe you think He didn't answer your prayers. But remember one thing. You don't have to return to church. Before you return to God, just talk to Him. Talk to Him the way you talk to me." Anna stared at the letter. She folded it and placed it on the table. But that night, she kept looking at it. Around 2 in the morning, Anna got out of bed. She walked into the living room and sat on the floor. For a while, she simply stared into the darkness. Then she whispered, "God?" Her voice was barely audible, as if she wasn't even sure anyone was listening. "Are you there?" Silence. Tears filled Anna's eyes. "I'm angry with you." Then she covered her face with both hands. Anna's tears would not stop. "I don't understand why you took my mother." Her voice trembled. "I don't understand why my marriage fell apart." She took a deep breath. "I asked you for help so many times." Then she became completely silent. After a few seconds, she whispered, "I don't know if I still trust you." She looked upward. "But if you really are listening," her voice broke. "Please help me." She heard no voice. No light suddenly appeared. No extraordinary miracle happened. But that night, when Anna finally went to bed, her heart felt slightly lighter. She didn't understand why, but somehow it felt as if someone was quietly saying, "I am still here." The next morning, Anna opened her eyes and immediately looked toward the box beneath her bed. She pulled it out. She took the Bible into her hands, and this time she did not put it away. Anna's hands trembled as she opened the Bible. She wasn't looking for a specific verse. She simply opened a page. For several moments, she stared at the words. Then tears fell onto the pages. "Maybe I was wrong," she whispered. But she did not force herself to suddenly become happy. She slowly began to understand that faith did not mean having an answer to every question. Sometimes, faith simply means saying, "God, I don't understand anything, but I still don't want to let go of you." Anna's prayers were different now. She no longer prayed long, perfect prayers. Sometimes she prayed for only a minute. Sometimes she whispered one sentence. Sometimes she simply cried. But she started talking to God again, and slowly the anger inside her began to melt. Her circumstances had not suddenly changed, but her heart was no longer completely alone. A few days later, the manager at the grocery store asked Anna to come into the office. Anna thought she was in trouble. The manager pointed to a chair. "Anna, sit down." She became nervous. Then, the manager smiled. "Actually, I have some good news for you." Anna looked at him in surprise. "There's a position opening in our office. Your previous supervisor recommended you." Anna remained silent for a moment. "Me?" "Yes," she said. "You're responsible and that you work honestly, even under pressure." Tears filled Anna's eyes. It wasn't a huge miracle, but it was a door, a small door. Anna went home and sat at the kitchen table. She closed her eyes. "Thank you." Only 2 words, but this time she meant them with all her heart. For the first time, Anna began to understand that sometimes God does not send an answer in the form we expect. Sometimes the answer is a person. Sometimes it is an opportunity. Sometimes it is a small piece of hope. And sometimes it is simply enough strength to survive another day. Months passed. Anna's life slowly became more stable. She started her new office job. She still missed her mother, but the memories no longer brought only pain. Sometimes she looked at old photographs and smiled. She also began spending time with Ruth again. One afternoon, Ruth asked, "What do you think about God now?" Anna thought for a moment. "I still don't understand everything." Ruth smiled. "Faith doesn't mean understanding everything." Anna nodded. "But now I understand one thing." "What?" "I walked away from God, but He never walked away from me." Tears appeared in Ruth's eyes. Anna held her Bible close to her chest. When I thought I was alone, maybe he was still there. That day, Anna decided that her story would not remain only a story of pain. She would let it become a story of God's faithfulness. Almost a year later, on a Sunday morning, Anna found herself walking down a familiar road. Ahead of her stood the same church, the same doors, the same steps, the same cross. Her heart began beating faster. She wondered, can I go inside? She had never truly hated the church. Her pain had been with God, and now she felt that she was slowly returning to her Father's house. Anna stood on the steps. She placed her hand on the door handle. Tears filled her eyes. She remembered the day she had walked away in anger and disappointment. That day, she had believed God had abandoned her. Today, she understood that God had not abandoned her for even a moment. Anna took a deep breath. Then she opened the door and walked inside. Ruth was sitting in her usual seat. When she saw Anna, she stared at her for several seconds. Then Ruth stood up. Anna slowly walked toward her. Neither of them said a word. Ruth simply wrapped her arms around Anna. Anna broke down. She cried against Ruth's shoulder. I came back, Anna whispered through her tears. Ruth gently touched her hair. I knew you would. Anna pulled back. I thought God had abandoned me. Ruth held her face gently in her hands. Anna, you walked away from church. Anna looked at her through tears. Ruth smiled. But God followed you. Those words stayed in Anna's heart. God had followed her through her loneliness, through her anger, through her tears, through her questions, and through that night when she finally whispered, Please help me. Anna walked to the front row and sat down. She looked toward the cross. As she stared at it, memories of her entire life seemed to pass through her mind. Her broken marriage, her mother's death, losing her job, that rainy evening, the little girl, Ruth's letter, the prayer in the middle of the night, and then the new job. Everything suddenly seemed connected. Anna realized that God had not solved every problem in the way she wanted, but He had never left her alone in any of them. Sometimes He had appeared through another person, sometimes through an opportunity, sometimes through a small moment of hope, and sometimes through the strength she received simply to make it through. Another day, tears rolled down Anna's face, but these were no longer tears of despair. They were tears of gratitude. She looked at the cross and whispered, God, thank you for staying when I walked away. The prayer began inside the church. Anna closed her eyes. She did not try to create a perfect prayer. She simply placed her heart before God. Father, I still don't understand everything. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how many more difficult days I will face. But now I know one thing. Her voice trembled. I am not alone. A peaceful smile appeared on her face. Her problems had not magically disappeared. Her mother had not returned. Her past had not changed. But Anna had changed. She had learned to seek God not only when life was good, but also when her heart was broken. She had learned that sometimes people walk away from God because they are hurt. They think God has forgotten them, but when they finally look back, They discover that even on the road where they thought they were walking alone, an unseen presence had been walking beside them. Anna opened her eyes and looked toward the cross. Then she smiled. "Thank you for following me." And that day, Anna understood a truth she would never forget. A person can walk away from God. A person can stop praying. A person can walk out of church. But God's love never stops pursuing them. Sometimes His love comes through a stranger. Sometimes through a friend's letter. Sometimes through an unexpected opportunity. And sometimes through a tiny spark of hope that appears in the darkest night. Anna walked out of the church, and sunlight was spreading across the sky. She looked upward. This time, she asked no questions. And deep inside her heart, she felt the answer. I never left